Well, so you can see I'm wearing a new shirt. I mentioned to the staffers here that I'm running out of clothes, and they gave me spare clothes from the back room, which is very nice. Since I'm still struggling with my finances, it's nice to get something for free that you can actually use. That being said, I will be discussing a hard topic today, prodromal schizophrenia, and I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. And I will also be mentioning a group called Hearing Voices Foundation, and goes by different names. It's changed its name a few times, I think. I believe it's currently Hearing Voices Network. And to jump right into it, prodromal schizophrenia is one of those things that to me seems like genuine persecution because it is the preliminary phase of schizophrenia. And unlike a diagnosis of schizophrenia, you don't need to have hallucinations, you don't need to have delusions, and none of these symptoms. But it can be diagnosed with something as simple as a interest in the occult. And I've been studying it for a while now, watching all these videos and reading about it. And if you have, for example, a schizophrenic break, they might study your history. And if you have an interest in spiritual phenomena, such as being religious, and your religiousness or religious inclinations have continued for a time before the schizophrenic outbreak, you are likely to be diagnosed during that phase as prodromal, meaning pre to the phase that is actually schizophrenic. And this is a dangerously loose concept. It is one that gives me great discomfort because it is, to me, it feels like the atheist desire to find all religions as being inherently wrong. And to me, there is no such thing as inherently wrong. Everybody's feels and emotions and what they think of the universe is equally right. If you feel that the universe is banana shaped, then it is banana shaped because the universe tends to respond to those in it. And to me, saying that just because you are interested in the occult and later had a schizophrenic break because you were homeless and you were in a bad place is a little weird to say that you are then prodromal in that phase. Because this prodromal schizophrenia diagnosis allows the schizophrenia diagnosis to travel, as they say, back in time, meaning that once they find schizophrenia, they will look at your history and say that was schizophrenic and that was schizophrenic and that was schizophrenic. And they will go to the point where if you have a religious inclination, they will call you schizophrenic. And I don't like that because it smells to me of genuine oppression. The atheist class going around and trying to diagnose everybody as insane. And I don't like to challenge or attack other people's religions, but people who believe that we should all ascend to the machine god and live inside it, and then it would be perpetual paradise after we dump these organic meat sacks and live in an eternally content state inside a machine is a little insane, to be polite. Now, if you are one of those people who wants to upload their mind to a machine, fine, you do you, but that is a religion. The belief that your soul or ego or self travels through that transition into the machine as being the same person or the same mind that you had as a biological life form is religion. There is no way, literally, that the technology of breaking you into tiny pieces and then making a same version of those tiny pieces is anything else than having a twin. That is what it is. It is saying that you and your twin, because they have the same DNA, are equal, are the same person. And anybody who has ever studied twins knows that they are radically different. Now, this prodromal schizophrenic phase is something along the lines of saying you are a prodromal atheist because you are not yet in your machine self, but it can be evident that you worship the machine and want to live inside it to replace your meat sack. And to us, people who don't object to the concept of death, think that death is something that should happen in its own place at its own time, and that there is nothing wrong with the universe for designing death into the universe. The very concept of transforming yourself into what in a lot of fantasies, for example, Warhammer, are called the Necrons, just so you can live forever in a machine mind, is a little insane. It is. It feels to us as crazy as nauhoitan. It feels to us as crazy. It feels to us as crazy as the religious mindset of living in this body feels to the atheist. I should put up a poster on my door when I'm recording so they know I'm recording. That should be done. Now, calling somebody a prodromal schizophrenic because they're interested in the astral is basically saying that because they're not an atheist, they're sick in the head. And the prodromal schizophrenic phase covers, perhaps I would not say most of humanity, but a large portion of humanity. A large portion of humanity believes in some kind of spirit or force or God or what have you. And this desire to find all the faults in humanity in religion is something that to me just speaks of Necron or Necrontyr, wanting to replace your what you consider faulty human life with machines and then slowly transforming into the machine mind is to me insane. It is very bad. Now, as to evolution, how I would evolve the human race, I would perfect genetic engineering. Then I would go through all the life on Earth and find the different DNA strands for the different attributes that we want and integrate them slowly into humanity and making a human that is actually a collection of what is best about life on Earth. For example, adding the shark immune system that never gets cancer, adding the starfish in regenerative abilities so that you can grow back limbs and so on and so forth. Not to mention one of those crabs that has like 15 primary colors in its field of vision. You know, doing this the genetic way and slowly evolving through that. Even that is harsh. It is considered harsh for most humans because humans do not in general wish to evolve through superiority. They do not like the eugenics wars that has been mentioned sometimes in the past. So calling me a prodromal schizophrenic because I'm interested in the astral and consider myself a shaman causes me to call them a prodromal necron because they are interested in becoming onto the machine. And I don't go around hunting necrons just because I happen to disagree with them. But I would hope that the machine spirit believers, the atheists, if you will, would also respect me enough that they don't go hunting me just because I don't agree with their religion. That is a tall order, and far as I know, will not be carried out because I have had very little positive experience in telling atheists that they should mind their own business. that I don't mind that they're atheists, but I will hold on to my beliefs, and my beliefs have a scientific foundation in them. They have, in my general view, never respected when I say that my side has scientific evidence to back it up as well. They have never accepted it. And this ties in with the UFOs are US government secret projects. And when the US says, no, they're not our secret projects, this same group says, you're lying and it's a conspiracy. It ties into the same tree. Once a religion gets to the point where all others are seen as evil or inferior, there is very little that can be done to negate that belief. So keep in mind that this diagnosis of schizophrenia is starting to, with the discussions and current material available, turn into a diagnosis of spirituality. And we have been talking about this for a while in the New Age community, that the scientific side of things, or in this case, the atheist side of things, is trying to diagnose everyone so that they have a map of who's what and what the different types of people are, and then try to convert them into what they would consider normal, which is the atheist mindset, regardless of how these people feel about such things. So I have said this before, but as long as you do not respect the desire of the other person to believe what they choose to believe. In other words, when you are trying to convert somebody from one religion to another, and you do it with the form of chemical intervention against their will, you are being a war criminal. And, the universe, or in the case of humanity, the United Nations, will slap you in the face, even if it kills us, because we will not give you the Nazi powers again. So that is what I have to say about prodromal schizophrenia. It is a title or a designation that says that if you are interested in anything relating to God, spirits, astral, and so forth, you are a prodromal schizophrenic. And the medication policy seems to be that if we can catch your religion or spirituality in the prodromal phase, you have a higher chance of recovery. And that is a little worrisome. So, on to the other point, the Hearing Voices Foundation. It is a group that supports people who hear voices but aren't yet schizophrenic, though they also support schizophrenics. And the number of people who say that they hear voices ranges from the 3% low here to the other website that I read earlier, where they said up to 25%. And the hearing voices thing is a little interesting because some people think audibly. They don't talk about their thought, they don't talk their thoughts, but they think something and then create or hear a voice of another point of view in their mind, and then have a discussion about their thought. And this is the Hearing Voices Foundation. And it has been generally believed by the atheist side that nobody talks to themselves in voice. But that seems to be incorrect. It seems that anywhere between 3 to perhaps a top of 25% of people talk to themselves in their mind. And if this were to be understood by the doctors diagnosing schizophrenia, there would be a wide change, because it seems like many of the people who exhibit schizophrenia are from this end of the spectrum, where talking to yourself in your mind is completely common. And many of the doctors are of the faction where any kind of talking to yourself or any kind of internal voice, or what we might call conscience, is not applicable because of the heavy belief that the physical matter is just an aberration that needs to be removed from the way of the mind. So they don't have a heart that they talk to. This is a little rude and a little dark, but that feels to me to be what I'm seeing here. So these doctors have very little understanding of the hearing voices group. And the hearing voices group sees the doctor side as machines that are trying to get back to the great machine mind. And this ties in fairly well with certain archetype understandings of demons and angels. So this seems to be, sorry, I'm tearing this tag from this thing. Hope it didn't, no, it didn't create a hole. These are really itchy. And this discussion between the angels and demons has turned from a religious discussion into one of science, where both sides are trying to make a scientific case about what they are experiencing. And most people are somewhere in between and believe fairly strongly that both sides are either insane or too dramatic for their like. When you discuss with them and say, when you say, I want to go out for a hamburger, do you get a sense of somebody or yourself saying to you, nah, I don't want to do that? Or do you have some kind of internal dialogue about the situation? Because if you do, you're a schizophrenic, according to the doctors. And that's what I mean by the danger of schizophrenia. Now, there is a very thin line between having an internal discussion about things and having schizophrenia. When your sense of guilt, shame, anger at yourself, any emotion that is uncontrolled or untapped into in a healthy way, starts to create voices where they are starting to try to affect you in a way that would be healthier for you, or at least get you to admit that you're acting in an unhealthy way, then that might appear as schizophrenia. But to me, that is just the voice of your conscience. So it seems like to me that this is a machine or an AI without conscience trying to understand and failing to understand people with conscience. That is a hard view, I admit, but that is the one I get. These doctor types who are of the machine do not seem to understand the soul in any way. And their belief that we need to ascend into the machine and become one with the machine God and all this talk of the machine singularity and all that jazz, just to me speaks of people who have never accepted their gift of life, trying to kill themselves so that they can get a better life. And that is, to me, what I sense. So, in closing, I would like to say that respect your belief. If your belief says one thing, try to figure it out, try to verify it, try to test it against the environment. And if your test seems to prove that it works, slowly introduce others to the thing and test if it also works with them, and so on and so forth. But do not believe the promise of anyone claiming that by doing something to yourself, such as harming yourself or becoming one with the machine or lobbing your head off and putting it in a tank, you can live forever. You are telling us that these voices are harmful and demonic, and in some cases we agree. But your belief that we should all ascend to the machine God and be one with the machine and live eternally in that is equally harming. Please accept that. So that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.